this correction is getting very, 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 very brutal. I mean, just look at this. 103,761 for Bitcoin. ETH is back at 3,495, and Sol is trading like crazy. I mean, let's just quickly look at where Solana is. Solana is trading at $160. It's getting really, really, really brutal out there. But the good news is that it's about to end. It's almost over. I'm going to show you why I think this correction is going to end. I'm going to show you exactly when this correction is going to end, and I'm going to show you where we're going in the next leg up, and it's coming much sooner than you think. So a big show today, guys. Lots of alpha, lots of digging, lots of research, and I'm sticking to my thesis, and I'm going to show you exactly why. Let's get going. This really is the final capitulation, the final leg down before the bull market continues. I know some people out there are going to tell you that the bull market's over. The bull market ain't over. This is the final leg down, the final capitulation before the bull market actually continues. And I think it's going to happen much sooner than you think. And you know what? You can say what you want to say, but that's been my thesis since the beginning of time. If you look at the 26th of September. So on the 26th of September, I posted this tweet. At the time, on the 26th of September, the price of Bitcoin was about 113, 114,000. I said to you guys, this correction ain't ending until such time as we get to 95 to 98k on Bitcoin, 3,200 on ETH, and 145,000 on 145 on Solana. Here we are, and I mean, we're getting really close. ETH is $300 away, 8% away from my target. Solana is 10% or 8% away from my target. It's 160. I said it's going to go down to 145, and Bitcoin's at 103,000, which means that there's a little drop of 4% left before we hit the final capitulation. Now, at the time when I tweeted this, a lot of people were laughing at me. Today, they're all changing their thesis to say exactly what I'm saying. And I'm going to stick to my thesis. I'm sticking to my thesis because I'm going to show you exactly why this market is actually about to turn. I'm going to show you that all the triggers that I've actually been waiting for, and I have been waiting for these triggers for quite a while, are actually starting to trigger. And it's not actually only the price triggers, right? The price triggers are just some of the triggers that I've been waiting for. There are a whole lot of other triggers that I've been waiting for that are actually starting to trigger now. And that's why I'm starting to get more bullish than ever that this correction is going to turn. So massive show today, guys. I see you all here. Glenn, I see you here. I see everybody here. Guys, remember, please help me by liking this video, because when you do it, really sends a good message to the algorithm. It gives it that energy feeling, and when the algorithm gets that energy feeling, that's when it circulates the show. And it makes us have these big shows. And I want today to be a really big show because I think it's important. I think it's important that people stop panicking and realize exactly what's going on. As I said to you, I'm looking for certain indicators. Some of the indicators were around price. So my first bunch of indicators were actually around price. And I said, look, for me, the correction ends just below 100,000, 95 to 98,000, ETH at 3,200, Solana at 145. We're very close to those numbers. So close that it's almost time to actually start buying. The other thing that I said at the time, again, I want to bring the receipts because, you know, it's very easy to say that, I see Joanne Perry's back. She hasn't been here for so long. Welcome back, Joanne. I want to keep the receipts because this is what I said when the correction happened, and no one wanted to hear it. But I said to you guys, it's going to correct, and we're going to come back, and we're going to touch the wick lows, which were 102,000, by the way. This is what I said to you when I was in London. You know, I've stuck to my thesis right through the whole correction. As I said to you guys, and I know you guys didn't want to hear it, but I kept saying to you guys that my thesis for this correction is that what's going to happen is we're going to take out the lows. So I kept saying to you guys, don't buy. Why? Because what we want to do is we want to wait for Bitcoin to, like every correction, to go back and to test the lows, right? So if you look at a daily chart and you look at the lows, what you realize is that every time that we've had a correction, we've had the correction, we've had the correction, and then we've gone down and we've gone up and then we've gone back down and we've swept the lows. I think this time will be no difference. And what you can see is that right now we went down and now we're almost back at sweeping the lows. So that was what I did. That was what I said to you guys in London when I was in London about 2 weeks ago. I said to you guys, that's what's going to happen, and now it's starting to happen. Because remember, the lows were at about 102,000. If you can actually kind of see the low over here, right? And now what are we doing? We're sweeping the lows. Now, if you look at every single other Bitcoin, every other respectable Bitcoin correction, like you see, you went down here and then you swept the lows. You actually went below the lows, right? And that's starting to happen now. So we've gone up. We've gone down, we've put in the high over here, and now we go down and we actually sweep the lows and we go slightly below the lows. I also said that this correction would end when we wick under 100,000 to scare the last of the psychological level of 100,000 is such a big level for a lot of people that when we break below the 100,000, that's when people are going to start to panic, and that's going to be the end of the final capitulation, which is what I've been calling this process that we're in. Because remember, bottoming on a market is a process, and we are in the final part of that process. We're in the final capitulation. If you can survive this, and we'll talk about that in a couple of seconds, but if you survive this, then effectively you're almost guaranteed to make it out of here and to make it out of here rich. But it's not only the price that I'm looking at. I'm also looking at other indicators, right? So the one thing that I was looking at is, do we actually sweep the lows? Remember that I said to you guys, it takes about 30 days to go down and sweep the lows after a correction. And I said it to you guys in that video in London. Now people are starting to catch on to it. They're saying that historically the trend around the 30-day mark. Now, when was that big capitulation? It was October the 7th, right? We're on the 4th of November. 30 days to sweep the lows. The other thing that I said to you is I'm looking for extreme fear, for the market to be in extreme fear for a period of between 4 and 7 days. That's what I'm looking for. We are now in the second day of the market being in extreme fear. So this is the first day. Sorry, today will be the second day of the market actually being in extreme fear. I'm looking for 7 days, around 7 days of extreme fear before we actually turn, because that's what usually happens in bull markets. I'm also looking for the sentiment to change. I've been saying to you guys that the sentiment needs to change in Twitter. And only now on Twitter is the sentiment starting to change. Before we were in a correction, but the sentiment was still good. Hey bro, I'm buying the _DERP. I'm here, I'm buying the _DERP. I'm deploying capital. That's not how corrections end. Corrections end when everybody thinks it's the end of the bull market and everybody is so worn out and so tired and so broken that they don't want to continue. And that's what's happening. I mean, look at Miles. Miles is saying, I mean, I don't know if you saw, but he posted a video yesterday. I think he lost his shirt trading. Let me just find you that. We've got to try and find you that thing. I genuinely think he lost his shirt trading. And you can see the frustration in his tweet. I'm losing millions in crypto. I'm effing frustrated. The side that no one shows you. You can see that the guy's extremely frustrated. That's how corrections end. Corrections end when people believe that the bull market is over, that the bull market is over and that the bull market ain't going to resume anytime soon. Now, you'll remember that I started this poll on Twitter and I kept asking people, is the bull market over? And in the beginning, after the capitulation event, even 10 days after the capitulation event, there were too many heroes. Too many people said, no, the bull market's not over. Fast forward like 3 weeks later. Where are we 3 weeks later? It was 63% of people saying the bull market's not yet over. Oh, today it's a little bit different. Today, 55% of people are saying that the bull market's over. You see how that is what a capitulation looks like, and that's a capitulation event that you need. You need people to believe that the bull market is going to end. 𝗙𝗘𝗃 says the bull market's over. I say it's not over. 𝗙𝗃 and I are going to debate this live on Banter. I'm going to call him. We're going to debate this live on Banter, and by the end of it, we'll decide the time will decide who's the winner. But I'm putting my flag firmly on the bullish side. He's saying the bull market's over. Let's see who's right. Almost willing to guarantee that I'm right. And on that day, I'm going to take him a bet on that day, but don't tell him. People are saying Scott Malco, very respected voice, is difficult for most people in crypto to accept that simply buying tech stocks would have been a better play. That's an anger and it's a capitulation. It's like we should have bought tech stocks, but you can't buy tech stocks now because tech stocks are pretty much at all-time highs. The regret. Ansem says, hard for me to come up with scenarios that BTC outperforms NVIDIA. No, bro. But of course Bitcoin's going to outperform NVIDIA. You know it's going to outperform NVIDIA. Miles, as I said, lost his shirt yesterday. People talking about either this is a bear trap or the bull market is over. People are starting to come to the realization that this bull market may be over. Phil says today ETH breaks a massive higher low uptrend from 1400 that lasted 206 days. He says in no uncertain terms, the bull market is over. Okay, great. You say the bull market's over. I'm going to show you that it's not. We're at a point in the cycle where people are nervous. You know why people are nervous? Because they're down to their last cent. They've been squeezed so hard and they've been holding on for dear life. And now they're down to the last cent. And you know what happens when they're down to their last cent? Every little thing scares them, right? So yesterday, when there was this tweet from no one, literally the guy doesn't even have a name, it's just a tick. He says, when I stated 𝗦𝗛𝗢𝗔𝗧, he's talking about 𝗦𝗛𝗢𝗔 suing Binance. Then the founder of 𝗦𝗛𝗢𝗔 came out and said, I'm not even suing Binance. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, this is 𝗣𝗓𝗍𝗓. He says, literally nothing changed since this tweet. We have never had plans to sue Binance. No, but people are nervous. That's the thing with bear markets. People have lost so much money. They're so much on edge. They're trying to make back their losses. And so what happens every time that when the closer you get to the bottom, the more sharp the movements get. You know why the more sharp the movements gets? Because whatever buyers are left are holding on by like they're holding on like this. And then all of a sudden, bang, they capitulate and they fall over like everybody else, right? That is what's actually happening. So now you kind of got to take a view. What's your view here? I've taken my view. My view is very simple, right? My view is exactly the same view that I've held since the beginning of this correction. My view remains very simple. Here's my view. The correction will end when we're all convinced that the end of the cycle was on the 6th of October, and when we touch or get close to these levels. I can't call levels perfectly. I'm not that guy, but I can give you areas. Also, my view is the following, right? My view is that every time that we have bad sentiment, the most negative sentiment, that's when the market turns. This is a metric that says the metric has proven to be extremely accurate. When it turns orange or red, it identifies local price bottoms in 90% of the cases. It's a sentiment indicator. It's the same as the fear and greed sentiment indicator that I'm doing. Remember, I always said to you, I always buy extreme fear and I always sell extreme greed. And now we are in extreme fear. This is the first day that we've been in extreme fear, 21, and the market is actually scared. My thesis is very simple. You buy extreme fear, just like you would have bought extreme fear over here, right? The only thing is it lasts about, in this case, it lasted about a month. This is a very long correction. Usually extreme fear lasts for about 7 days, and then the market actually starts turning. You always buy extreme fear. Buy extreme fear, that's my thesis. Right now we're in extreme fear, right? And so that's why I'm starting to deploy my capital much more aggressively. My thesis has been since the beginning that we're going to come out and take out the lows. We just took out the lows. My thesis was it's going to take us 30 days to take out the lows. We're almost on day 30. It's getting very close. Now, look, you can choose to listen to the FUD out there. And the FUD is very obvious FUD, right? Because the FUD is a self-perpetuating loop that you always see. Let me explain to you how the FUD works, right? The FUD says to you, hey, prices are going down. And guess what? The whales and the long-term holders are selling Bitcoin. Obviously, bro. You know why they're selling Bitcoin? Because in this cohort of long-term holders is a bunch of holders called the ETFs. They are the biggest part of this cohort, right? And the ETFs will always sell when the futures funding rate drops because they're trading the arbitrage. What do I mean by they're trading the arbitrage? You buy the ETF and you sell the future and you lock in an annualized interest rate of up to 8%. When the risk-free rate is at 5% or 4% or 3%, you can lock in 8% by just shorting the perp and buying the ETF. And when the interest rate comes down, they're going to sell the ETF and unwind the trade. And then they're going to be classified as these long-term holders. You get it? So obviously, in times when the price goes down and the funding rates drop, they will be selling because they are the long-term holders. Also, remember one thing about prices, right? The best advertisement for an asset is its price. When the price of Bitcoin is going up, everybody wants it. When the price of Bitcoin is going down, nobody wants it. The same thing happens with MicroStrategy, right? When the price of MicroStrategy is going up and Bitcoin is going up, everybody wants MicroStrategy and they're willing to pay premiums and multiples and whatever else. when the price of Bitcoin is going down, nobody wants MicroStrategy. That's how this asset works. That's how most assets work. When prices are going down, nobody wants them and people sell them. When prices are going up, everybody wants them. Okay? All the retail investors. Change your mindset. Buy in extreme fear and sell into extreme greed. Here we go. Buy into extreme fear. Oh, by the way, it is extreme fear right now. And sell into extreme greed. It's not rocket science. It's literally what Warren Buffett says, right? I have to just say something to you that's very simple. I've been here for 3 cycles. I can tell you that the key to making real money in crypto, and I mean real money, I don't mean like catching a trade here and making like 1 trade or 2 trades or 3 trades. If I look at every single long-term investor in this market that has actually landed up making money, there is one thing that they all have in common, right? 2 things that they all have in common. The first thing that they have in common is that they survived. They survived multiple cycles. If you just survive the shakeout in this industry, you land up making money. I want to quickly show you a couple of examples, right? For those of you that weren't here, and there were a lot of us that weren't here, but if you go back to the price chart since 2017, okay? If you just held from $300 or whatever the price was over here, that is how you would have made your money. Yes, there were big ups and downs along the way, but just survive and keep holding multi-cycle assets. That's the name of the game here. It's not rocket science. Survive and hold multi-cycle assets. You get it? Like that's all you have to do. If you chase shiny objects, if you're trading in and out of every single little trade, you're not going to make it. If you want to make it, really want to make it without getting shaken out, survive and hold multi-cycle assets. Guys, it's so simple. You know what my portfolio looks like today? I've got Bitcoin, I've got ETH, I've got Solana, I've got Pump, I've got Hyperliquid, I've got BNB. Multi-cycle assets. I've got ZK Sync, I've got Zcash. Multi-cycle assets. This correction doesn't even matter to me. I'm sitting here and I'm going, okay, great. Like on paper, like my gains aren't as high as they were so long ago. But I'm holding for multi-cycle anyway. So whether Bitcoin goes to 103, I'm not selling it until it goes to 250, 300, 400, 500, 600,000. I'm not selling my Solana until they get to 1,000. I'm holding it for multi-cycles. So this intra-cycle volatility means absolutely nothing to me. The way to make money in crypto from someone who's been here for all 3 violent cycles is to survive, to hold multi-cycle assets. And if you just survive, trust me, you get rich. Because if you just survived from 2017 to 2021, you went from $500 to $69,000. That's a good enough return. And if you just survived another cycle without getting liquidated and spat out, then you went from $500 to $120,000. Survive and hold multi-cycle assets. It is so simple. All right, you get it. Pretty easy, right? Let's talk about what's actually happening right now. Let's actually talk about what's actually happening right now. So, I mean, there are reasons why this market is going down, and we should discuss them. But remember that the reasons are pretty much noise. Like, it's just noise. We can sit here and we can justify why the market's actually going down. It doesn't really matter, because if you're holding multi-cycle assets, you're not getting shaken out. It's so simple. If you're holding multi-cycle assets, whether Bitcoin's at 103, 110, or 98, it doesn't matter to you, because next cycle it's going to be at 300,000 and 400,000. ETH, whether it's at 3.5, it's going to be at 10,000. Solana is going to be at 1,000. Doesn't matter what happens in between, because you're holding multi-cycle assets and you ain't going to get flashed out because you have conviction. So simple, right? But if you want to talk about what's happening in the current market and why the current markets are getting liquidated, it is a little bit of a crazy scenario. So the first thing that's actually happening is you've got the US government shutdown actually happening. And the shutdown's actually starting to get really scary. For one, it's the biggest shutdown in history by far. For two, they don't know when it's going to end. No one knows when the shutdown's going to end. The Democrats are being stubborn. And so no one knows when the shutdown's going to end. It's costing the economy millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it's getting really scary at the moment. And the worst part is that the uncertainty is killing the markets, right? It's also putting liquidity from the markets, as Chuck says. We'll talk about that in a second. It's starting to cost, it's having an economic impact on the markets at the moment. And the worst part is, remember what Powell actually said. He said that, I mean, when he was questioned around the shutdown and around the rate cuts in December, he said, look, the rate cuts aren't a foregone conclusion. If I don't have data, then I can't cut rates. I don't know if you remember this, when the guy from Reuters asked him the question.
I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit on what you said a moment ago about the continued shutdown, making it more difficult to make a move in December. And that may make you more cautious. To the degree you are relying on private data that isn't the gold standard, or that you're relying on your own surveys of the beige book, do you worry at some point you're going to have to start making policy by anecdote?
This is a temporary state of affairs. And, we're going to do our jobs. We're going to collect every scrap of data we can find, evaluate it, and think carefully about it. And that's our jobs. That's what we're going to do.
If Powell doesn't have data, there is a risk that he's not going to do rate cuts. And the problem is that every day that we get closer to the government still being shut down is a day where the odds start to go more and more and more to the fact that there may not be a rate cut. Now, look, I'm almost willing to guarantee you that there's going to be a rate cut on the 10th of December. There's no way that Powell doesn't do it. But the markets are very, very, very nervous and uncertain. So that's the first thing. The first thing is the government shutdown is no longer a joke. It's causing great uncertainty in markets. They're not getting economic data, and that's a big problem. The second reason why these markets are going down is because you'll remember this chart over here. This is called the Treasury General Account. I don't know if you remember this. We did a lot of coverage about the Treasury General Account. Remember when the US had the debt freeze and they couldn't take on any more debt? They started spending from this other account that they had called the Treasury General Account. This is when the US government couldn't agree. And what they did was they spent from $800 billion all the way down to $296 billion. Then what happened was they had to refill, when the debt ceiling was raised, they had to refill this account. And what they said is that they said, look, we'll refill the account until it gets to 828. Okay, only thing is, they started refilling the account and then the government shutdown happened. And so they just kept refilling the account. And so what they've done is they've taken almost $1 trillion out of the economy. $1 trillion have come out of the economy, almost. From 296 all the way to 957, that is $650 billion was taken out of the economy and put into the Treasury General Account. Okay? Now, when you take money out of the economy, what's the asset that feels this the most? The most the riskiest asset, the asset that's most sensitive to liquidity. And that asset is crypto and Bitcoin. We know this because when we look at the Treasury General Account and we look at what happens when the Treasury General Account gets emptied, the price of Bitcoin goes up. When the Treasury General Account gets filled, the price of Bitcoin goes down. And right now, the government's almost, you know what it's like? It's like you leave the hose pipe on in your swimming pool and you're trying to fill the swimming pool, and then the government goes on leave while you're filling your swimming pool. But they leave the hose pipe on. There's just more and more and more water, in this case, being taken out of the pool and into the other pool. And so that's what's going on with the Treasury General Account. I do believe what 𝗙𝗲𝗄 says. He says, this is what's happening right now. The government shutdown starts on October 1st. The TGA rebuilds, plus 150 billion in October. Cash drained from the markets. The Fed repurchase rate, the repo repurchase rate, builds in 20 billion a week. And so what's happening here is we're getting this tightening situation where more and more liquidity is being drained out the market. And that's why the crypto markets are actually suffering. Also, what doesn't help our case is that the dollar is strengthening. I mean, just look at the dollar, at the dollar that's been strengthening since the 16th of September. 16th of September, the dollar has strengthened by 5% almost. That means that just by virtue of all of that, the price of Bitcoin should have gone down by 5%, right? Now let's go to the 16th of September. Just a dollar devaluation. Just because the dollar is getting stronger, Bitcoin should have weakened, right? Now let's look at what happened. Where was Bitcoin on the 16th of September? Guarantee it was around 5%. 16th of September. Let's find that 16th of September candle. October. 26th September, 16th of September. It was 116, no, it closed at 116,000. Subtract 5 or 6%. Okay, we're not that far off, right? We're not that far off. That is just because the dollar was actually getting stronger. The 𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗍 was actually getting stronger. That's it. So that's pretty much what's going on at the moment, right? So what's my thesis? Why do I tweet Because, you know, like when you're a KOL, when you're in the media and you tweet something, that tweet is there for life and people will haunt you for life. So why am I willing to put my head on the block and say the following? Why am I willing to put my head on the block and say that that the correction is going to end, I said just a little more pain before the next violent leg up? My suggestion is that you cancel your December plans because it's going to be wild here in December. Why have I said that it's going to be wild in December? So I have a couple of theses. There's one thesis, multiple theses. Let me explain to you what I think happens. I think the government shutdown ends around December because it has to, because they just cannot keep the government closed for another month. So I think somewhere around December, the government shutdown ends. When the government shutdown ends, I think the first thing that happens is we know that we're getting our rate cut because the data starts coming out again and we actually start getting our rate cut. I think what's going to happen then is I think the jobs numbers are going to look like absolute shit. And when that happens, I think Powell's going to have no choice but to actually cut before the end of the year. That's the first thing. I think the government shutdown ends, and I think what happens when the government shutdown ends, they start to empty this Treasury General account because they don't need the Treasury General account at $1 trillion. They don't need $1 trillion. They said they only want to fill it up to $850 billion. I also think that the Fed is also stopping quantitative tightening on the 1st of December. Remember, quantitative tightening is also taking money out of the market. More money than the Treasury General account is taking out. So I think we walk into December and the government's back, the TGA account gets emptied, the QT actually starts to end, the rates actually go down on the 10th of December, and then all of a sudden the music's on again and everybody's dancing. Well, except the people that were shaken out by this correction, who thought it was the end of the bull market, sold all their tokens, and then they stuck watching on the sidelines. And that's why I said, and I stick to this tweet, because this is now where I'm, that's where I'm putting my flag, hanging my flag. I think that December, January are going to be wild for crypto. Maybe not the beginning of December, but definitely towards the end of December and January, I think we get a repeat of last year where everything starts running again. I think by that time, all the people that thought it was the end of the bull market have got shaken out. They stuck on the sidelines and they start FOMOing in again, because that's what they do when markets go up. Because remember, when markets go down and Bitcoin price is down, nobody wants it. When markets go up and Bitcoin price goes up, everybody wants it. You know how that works. That's like the best thing in the world. So I think that's going to happen. Now, what could happen between now and the end of December or December? So remember I said to you, I think there's going to be one more leg down. And I think that one more leg down takes Bitcoin to between 95 and 98,000. Why did I say specifically 95 to 98,000? Pretty simple, right? I think that there's a psychological level at $100,000. And a lot of people say that as long as Bitcoin holds above $100,000, we're safe. But you need to break even those people. And how do you break those people? You go down and you wick down below $100,000. Now, what could cause that wick down below $100,000? I tweeted about this yesterday. And I said that right now, for me, the biggest risk is that the stock market actually takes a correction, right? So my biggest risk here is that the stock market actually takes the correction. Because if you look at where the stock market is right now, the stock market is, look at this channel. This is a channel since 2018. And the S&P has been trading that channel. Now the S&P is the top of that channel. I can only say that logically, we should probably reject here. And you can kind of maybe see the rejections already started. Maybe this is the beginning of the rejection over here. I think that the stock market comes down a little bit in November. I take the opposite view to Tom Lee. And that actually could take crypto back to the 95, 98 level. And when that does, that'll be the last capitulation before we actually start moving up. You can see that some people have started to position themselves. So Buffett has been positioned like that. I mean, he's like, look, he's all in cash now. I mean, not all in cash, but he's got $382 billion worth of cash. You had Michael Burry come out of he's the guy from The Big Short, for those of you who don't know. He came out of the woodworks again. And he was like, okay, I'm short again. And he started shorting things. Now, I mean, he's been more wrong about, he's predicted, Michael Burry has predicted 1,000 of the last 3 recessions. Like, that's basically what he's done. Like, the guy's like, he's predicted a recession 1,000 times. And I think that like one of them actually came, or 2 of them actually came. So that is what I think. So that's effectively my thesis. So what do you do right now? First thing is, you make sure that you survive. That's it. Second thing is you make sure that you're holding multi-cycle assets, things that you are happy to hold for multi-cycle assets. I'm going to make a video about Bitcoin very soon, but I really think that like one of the multi-cycle assets now is Zcash. You got to be holding Zcash in your portfolio. You got to be holding Bitcoin. You got to be holding ETH. You got to be holding Sol. Multi-cycle assets, ZK Sync. You just buy those and you just hold those because you know you can hold them for multi-cycles, right? Because you know that there's a lot of adoption. Number one, survive. Number two, hold multi-cycle assets. Number three, stop looking at your portfolio. If you keep looking at your portfolio, you know what it's like. I'll tell you what it's like. It's like, hardest, have you ever like broken up with a girl, right?
Yeah.
And then like you keep looking at her photo. Or you go to social media and then you keep stalking her profile on social media. That's what looking at your portfolio is like now. Why are you doing that to yourself? Just forget it. Block her. I don't know. Do what you need to do. Block her, let her block you. I don't know. But stop looking at your portfolio. There's no upside in looking at your portfolio every day. If you're holding multi-cycle assets, stop looking at your portfolio. It's exactly like that ex on Instagram. And then you go and you look at the Instagram and you're looking at Instagram and she's with another guy. Why are you doing that to yourself? Just stop looking. Look later. Look when the prices go up. You look again. The only time if you want to look, I would look at my portfolio if I was going to switch. And I did that on the weekend. I haven't looked at my portfolio at all. But this weekend I really wanted to buy ZK Sync. But I don't have any more money, so I had to sell something. So I went and I found like 5 things to sell, sold them, bought ZK Sync. That's exactly it. I also miss her, bro. But looking at the photo on Instagram isn't going to help. The best thing to do is not to look. Go to gym. I don't know, go to gym. Every time you want to look at your portfolio, go to gym. You'll build biceps. Bro, have you seen what's going on here? Okay? Because every time I want to look at my portfolio, I go to gym. Or I eat a protein bar. I don't know. Do something constructive. That is what you do now to survive this. And if you have got cash on the sides, fuck you, lucky. Then buy because you're not going to get Solana again at $150. Because you're not going to get a 𝗠𝗠. I mean, like crazy shit. 𝗠𝗠, not market cap. 𝗠𝗠 USD, like $2. Bro, you know this is going to $6. You know it's going to $6 when the bull market comes. Okay? You buy peak fear and you sell greed, and that's the thing. And stop looking at your portfolio, go to gym, go and build your biceps, do what you need to do, and that's basically how to play and how to survive this crash. Very, 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 very simple. Got it? Cool. I want to talk to you about a couple of other things. So, look, I'm going to say this bluntly and honestly. I haven't been a big fan of Internet Computer, ICP. I think it's one of those projects that's been very, 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 very theoretical, right? ICP has been very theoretical. It's like they're building this decentralized, complete decentralized world computer, like multiple layers. It's like it really is the only completely decentralized total protocol around there. That's why they call it Internet Computer, right? And to be honest, like, I lost faith in this team. You know why I lost faith in this team? Because they're too clever and they've been building for a long time and they haven't actually had a killer use case on their protocol. Like, I've got to be honest. And like for me, like if you've been building for 7 years and you don't have a killer use case on your protocol, then you're probably never going to get a killer use case. It's probably going to die. But then they showed me something today. And when I saw this, I was like, hold on a second. So what is it? It's called Caffeine. Caffeine is an AI app creator. So you can basically create any app or any website that you want. And then what it does is it deploys the app in a decentralized way to Internet Computer. So basically it's like a pump fund, but instead of launching meme coins onto Solana, it launches decentralized applications onto Internet Computer, into ICP. And I think this might be their killer use case. And I think that that's why the price is up by 46%. So keep an eye on it. Again, like for me, it's always been a very theoretical project. Now, like I'm like looking at this, I'm going, hold on a second. Like these guys actually have the killer use case. It's an app, it's an AI app deployer where you just prompted it, creates an app, and then deploys the app for you. Let's actually see if we can do it because I haven't actually signed up, but let's try. Create a crypto price. I don't know if it will work. We're going to try this application that displays crypto prices. I'm not good at prompting prices as bubbles. Bubbles. Make them green when they are up and red when they are down. The bigger the move, the bigger the bubble. Now, again, this is very simplistic, but let's see if it'll actually deploy it. And this will deploy it onto a decentralized app. But let me see if it'll actually work, because I haven't signed up for this. So, full disclosure. Okay. I wonder if it'll actually build the code for me now. Great idea. I'll build a price app where every coin is shown as a bubble. Okay, now it's giving you the prompt. You see, it's giving you the whole instruction here. And it's writing the code. And then it might deploy it as a decentralized app on internet computer. And so they found the perfect use case for decentralized app. It's an AI that actually codes and deploys completely decentralized. Now it's actually coding the bubbles for me. You see, it's actually coding bubbles for me. I wonder if it'll actually, like, if this works. Josh is so fired. Poor Josh is so fired. It's literally programming my application. While it's programming my application, see, someone's Artemis says, I built a few apps on Caffeine already. It's nuts. And it deploys it onto ICP, which is amazing. While it is doing this, guys, remember, BitFunded, if you are struggling here and you are getting your account liquidated, rather go and trade with other people's money. And you can do that on bitfunded.com. What you do is go to the one-step evaluation. Pick an account. So let's say you want to trade a $25,000 account, pay $250, do the one-step evaluation, pass by 10%, and then basically you keep 100% of the profits. Yeah, they're changing it to 100% of the profits, believe it or not. Like, go to bitfunded.com. It's the easiest place to get a funded account. Anyway, let's see how it's still coding, eh? It's literally still coding this. Okay, what's happening here, guys? Okay, code, draft. Okay, it's not ready for draft yet. I've never done this before, so I don't know how long it actually takes to code this shit. But it then deploys it in a decentralized way on ICP, which means you've just built a dApp. And that is, I think, a killer use case. Let's give it another minute. While it's doing that, we can look at the other bubbles. How's Zcash doing today? Huh? Oh, volatile as hell, eh? Volatile as hell. But fun to trade. So much fun to trade. I'm actually dropping a video on Zcash later on the other channel, on Crypto Insider. Go and watch it. Probably one of the best videos you'll ever watch. All right, let's give it one more chance. Otherwise, we'll review this tomorrow. I won't close the window. Oh, the draft is being deployed. Now, the moment of truth. Let's see if Josh needs to be fired or Josh is not fired. It says, but doesn't play ping pong. Don't sack Josh. I mean, this is better than Banter Bubbles. Okay, I mean, look, for the prompt that I gave it, the fact that it actually coded this, and I can make it live on internet computer as a decentralized app, come on. Come on, bro. I mean, is that not impressive? I mean, I gave it a 2-line prompt, hardest. I'd give it a proper prompt.
Yeah, that's impressive for 2 lines.
Impressive for 2 lines, right? All right, chaps. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Listen, do me a favor. Don't get shaken out. Don't get shaken out. Just survive. Because if you survive, you're almost guaranteed to get rich in this industry. That's what I love about this industry. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.